Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how I dial in a big, fat, nasty, disgusting, aggressive, tight, and punchy metal tone. Is that enough adjectives? I think so. Let's get started. Well, thanks for joining me for today's video, and basically what I'm going to show you guys today is my approach to dialing in an aggressive metal tone. Now there's a lot of things that come into play when I'm doing that. I mean, I want it to be, like I said in the intro, big and fat and nasty and just really almost terrifying, you know? But it has to be super aggressive and it has to be tight and punchy. I like a lot of, good punchy low end. I want the amplifier to respond well to my playing, and I want that great feel, and the pinch harmonics have to be nice and juicy and fat, and they have to have a lot of sustain to them. So there's a lot that comes into play when dialing in an amplifier, especially when you're going for an aggressive metal tone. So what I'm going to do is dial in two different types of amps today. I'm going to dial in the EVH Stealth Blue Channel, and I'm also going to dial in the Revv Mark III, and they're both amazing amps, but the EVH Stealth is more of a sculpted, more aggressive amplifier, and the Revv is really aggressive as well, but it's a little fatter, and it's not as sculpted as the EVH. And I'm going to show you the approach that I use for each amplifier when it comes to dialing in the best metal tone that I can get out of them, because there's two different approaches because they're two different types of amplifiers. So let's start with the EVH Stealth Blue Channel now. So as you can see with the camera here, I have everything at noon. These are all the controls for the blue channel, and then the presence is also at noon, as you can see on the far right there. And the overdrive pedal is off. So let's go ahead and start playing around with the amplifier now. By the way, I'm playing the amp through my Mesa cab with the vintage 30s, and the mics I'm using are the Royer 121 paired with the SM57. Okay, definitely got a lot of promise there, so obviously I'm going to need more gain, and I'm going to mess around with the tone settings as well. All right, that didn't take much work. Obviously, I know this amp really well, so, got a little bit of a flat B string here. Yeah, so it was pretty easy to dial in, but as good as it sounds, I'm not really getting that response that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Mud Killer and see where that gets me, and dial in the amplifier further from there. All right, sounds good. Definitely more responsive. A little bit hollow though with this pedal. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you're dialing in a sculpted amplifier, don't just stick with whatever standard overdrive pedal that you have. Experiment with other overdrive pedals. I guess that goes for any amplifier. When you kick on your boost and you turn the knobs a little bit on the amp and you're still not feeling it, you might not have the right overdrive pedal or the settings on that overdrive pedal for that amplifier. So again, it's a little hollow to me, and I want a little more fullness, some juiciness, So let's go ahead and switch from the Mud Killer to the Odd Box by Warm Audio and see what we get there. Yeah, that's definitely a lot fuller. So let's switch back to the amp and dial it in further now that we switch pedals. It's fuller, a little juicier, a little fatter. So let's see what we have. Sorry about the tuning there. I don't know what's going on with this stupid B string today, but it's pissing me off. Will not stay in tune for anything. Anyways, yeah, I think it sounds a lot better with the odd box. And like I said, man, you got to pick the right pedal for the amplifier. I know some people say like, oh, all overdrives are the same. Bullshit. No, they're not. They're all different. There might be some similarities between them, but they all do have a different sculpting feature about them. And with the odd box, what I've found is that it works best with amplifiers that are really sculpted and aggressive, and it smooths them out a little bit, but it also allows them to have that big low end, but while pushing the frequencies that it needs to push to make the amplifier really aggressive and have a better feel and response as well. So yeah, I just think that I've achieved a really good sound and feel with this particular pedal and this amplifier with these settings. And another thing that I do, you guys are probably used to it and some of you are probably sick of it, but I play a lot of the same riffs on the channel because I have my tire kicking riffs, you know, the riffs that I use to check things, you know, like how tight is the amplifier, how aggressive is it, how good does it sound when I'm playing single notes or big chords or even full chords, like all the strings, like how good does everything sound? Do I get that note separation and that clarity that I'm looking for? And I do pinch harmonics a lot too because I'm testing to see if the pinch harmonics actually stand out and they're juicy and they're really aggressive, you know, or if they die out really early. I don't want that either. I hate wimpy pinch harmonics. It sounds so bad. So that's why I do a lot of repetitive riffs, and you need to figure out what riffs work best for you as well when you're doing your tire kicking you know, things with the amplifiers, and have your go-tos. And the reason why you want to stick with the same ones is because you know they work for you, and they're giving you what you're looking for in the amplifier, and they're showing you things, but they're also comparable to other amplifiers. Like, yeah, the other amp when I did this riff didn't act this way, acted this way. You know what I mean? There's some consistency there. So I'm going to go through some of those right now. One of my favorite riffs to test amps with is you know, Pull Me Under. I mean, it's just one of the best riffs ever. It's got the chugs, it's got chords, it's got a little bit of movement, and it just really points out a lot of the things that I'm looking for anyway. So let's test the amplifier with that. That sounds phenomenal. Great feel as well. Another one I test amps out with a lot is the riff I wrote for Night Terrors. That's got a lot of single notes and some chords as well. So that shows me a lot of things that's going on with the amplifier as well. Yeah, that's phenomenal, man. Really is. I really think that The Odd Box is a great pedal for this amp, and I really like the settings as well. You know, I mean, I'll tweak it further just to see, but I think we're pretty much there. As far as I'm concerned, perfect. Sounds freaking amazing. So again, don't forget to experiment with some other overdrive pedals. Seriously, don't forget to do that. A lot of people buy new amplifiers and they get it home and they hook it up to their same old overdrive they've had for years, and they get it home and they're like, wow, it sounded better at the store. And it's like, well, it's probably the pedal. So experiment with overdrives when it comes to getting the best, most aggressive, nastiest metal tone that you can get, because they really do make a huge difference on how the amp feels and just the overall aggressiveness of the amplifier. Now the thing is some people are like, oh, if it has enough gain, you don't need an overdrive. It's not about gain, it's about aggression. The amp provides the gain, the pedal provides the aggression, the attack, a little bit of sculpting to the tone, and a little better response and feel. That's it. It's not adding any gain to the amplifier at all. It's just adding a little bit of aggression and sculpting. So don't fall for that stupid myth that idiots tell you that, oh, you don't need an overdrive if the amp has enough gain. Bullshit. It's all about aggressiveness and feel and response. So I really think that this pedal added the perfect amount of those things to this amp, and I think I've achieved a really good tone with this particular channel on this amp. You know, this is about as good as I can get it anyways, and I'm 100% satisfied with that. So now let's move on to the Revv purple channel. All right, I got the Revv all fired up, so let's switch to the camera here. Sorry about the glare, nothing I could do about that. I spent 15 minutes trying to address that, and just a big fat waste of my time. Lights, the way it is. All right, so let's see what we have. The overdrive is off. Let's just see what we have for starters here, and we'll dial it in. Man, that bright switch, pretty subtle, but also pretty noticeable as well. I kind of like that. Definitely getting somewhere now. Man, that sounds really good. So as you can see, I got the aggression level up on it. You can have it at 3 different settings. You can have it off or blue or red. I felt like blue was good, and I engaged all of the switches here, the bright, cut, and fat, and it just really accented things tone-wise that I really wanted it to do. So that sounded really good. And then the presence and depth are right here. So pretty normal settings here. I didn't have to really go outside the box too much, and to make this work. So now let's choose an overdrive pedal. Now this amp is pretty juicy. It's pretty fat and thick. So I'm going to pick overdrive that might sculpt it a little bit more than the Oddbox would. I'm going to start with the Mud Killer and see what we have. By the way, there's a great feel on the amp right now. I'm just looking for a little more response, a little more aggression, So let's see what happens when I engage the Mud Killer. Wow, that's freaking amazing. So with this particular amplifier, the Mud Killer sounded pretty much perfect with it. I wouldn't change anything. Sounds awesome with this amp, really does. And it just shows, the right pedal with the right amp makes all the difference. So I'm going to turn the pedal off, play a riff, and turn it back on and show you the difference. So when you see me reach down there, it means I'm turning it on. And I don't think it's going to change the tone of the amp very much, but it's just going to add that aggressiveness and that really great feel and attack that I'm looking for. Freaking money. That is awesome. So as you can see, depending on the amp and depending on the characteristics of the amp, you want to use different pedals and have a different approach with them, and you could probably get away with even turning the tone knob up a little bit on the Mud Killer and see what you have. Right now I have it at top dead center. Let's see what it does when I turn it up a little bit. Yeah, that actually added that little bit of extra attack that I was looking for, and that was perfect. So don't be afraid to experiment, and that's what I do. I'm always experimenting. I'm an options guy. I'm always looking outside the box and like, oh, what if I do a little bit more or something, I'm the more guy, because I don't want to always wonder like if I would have just pushed it a little harder, if I would have liked it more. Go beyond what is normal and then pull yourself back to what's what feels and sounds right to you. And that way how far too far is and how much not enough is. You got to find that sweet spot, So that really is a great way to do it. Just keep turning knobs until you've gone too far and then pull it back, and that way like, yeah, this is right here. And that's what I do all the time, and it definitely works for me. Now, another thing I want to do in this video is just talk about how I mic my cabs and why I use the dual mic system. I mean, I always use 2 mics because basically what you're going to get is a bigger spectrum of sound when you're miking a cab when you use 2 mics. Now the SM57 has kind of been an industry standard for years, especially on stage, and one of the reasons is they're cheap. They're $100, you know, and they're workhorses. They're pretty rugged. They're not delicate mics. They can get dropped and kicked around a little bit and it won't hurt them. I mean, most of the SM57s that you see at the clubs and stuff are just beat to shit, you know, and they still work. And so they've served the community well regarding that. But I don't think they're the best sounding mic by themselves. They do sound good, but I always pair it with something else so that I can get a bigger spectrum of sound. So let me show you what it sounds like without the Royer 121. And then I'll add the Royer and you'll hear how much bigger everything sounds, and you'll hear a lot more frequencies as well. So we'll start with the Royer off. I'll go ahead and mute it. And here we go. It just sounds a lot better. So let's hear the Royer by itself so you can hear what the Royer is actually adding to the complete sound that you're hearing right now. So I turned the SM57 off, so we're just hearing the Royer now. So between both of those mics, you're getting all the sound that you could possibly get. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope it gave you some insight regarding how I approach going after, you know, super heavy, ridiculous metal tones. And I really hope that some of the stuff I shared with you guys helped you out. And just remember, there's not a one-size-fits-all method when it comes to getting metal tones. I mean, some people are really generic about how to do it. Oh, just get an overdrive pedal, slam the amplifier, crank the gain up, and go for it. No, no, you have to get the proper overdrive pedal to fit that particular amplifier depending on how sculpted or how loose it is, and it really does help define the tone big time, as I demonstrated in this video. So make sure you do that. Think outside the box a little bit. Come up with your own tire kicking riffs that really work for you, that push the amp in ways that it shows you what it's doing. You know, like you're looking for things like you want that really nice note separation, you want that aggression, that attack, the pinch harmonics, you know, the single notes, are they fat, you know, are they skinny sounding, you know, like are the chords articulate, are they messy sounding, you know, do you have enough low end or you have too much? I mean, all those riffs will teach you that. And definitely the chugs have to be in there because you don't want flubby chugs. You know, I think that's something you go to the doctor for, right? Hey, doc, I got flubby chugs. Anyways, yeah, you don't want flubby chugs. You want them tight and aggressive, you know, and pay attention to how the amplifier feels as well. Does it respond the way you want it to? Is it, and, you know, sonically, is it a bit hollow? Do you need to add more gain? Do you need to back the gain off? Maybe, you know, turn up some low end, whether it's the resonance or the bass knob. I mean, you think about all those things because like your overdrive pedal is sculpting it and it's pulling some low end out. So maybe sometimes you got to add a little bit back in the amplifier, whether it's resonance or bass, and just kind of fine tune things, you know. So just think about that. And the reason why I bring up the gain thing, like sometimes add more gain, take some away, because sometimes, depending on how the amp is designed, gain sometimes adds fullness to the amplifier too. And sometimes, you know, people back the gain off too far when they push it with an overdrive, and I hear it. I'm like, oh, that's just, it sounds empty and sculpted and kind of hollow, and it sounds like the amp's choking. It's like starving for air. So don't be afraid to have the gain where you want it to make sure that the amplifier has that fullness that you're looking for. Because again, overdrive pedals don't add gain, they just add aggression. So don't always feel like you have to get back the gain way off, you know. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what your approach is to dialing in ridiculous metal tones, and maybe I can learn something from you guys as well. Well, if you want to support the channel, you can join my Patreon. There's a link below for that. And if you play Kemper, Quad Cortex, or Tonex, feel free to go to my website, which is linked below as well, and get some ridiculous metal tones and clean tones for any one of those units as well. Well, thanks to all my subscribers and Patreon supporters. I really appreciate you guys. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, please do, and click the bell so that you can be notified every time I either go live or come out with a new episode. I got a lot more stuff coming up for you guys, and I will see you on the next one.